So Holder, remember the other day when we were watching that show late at night, one with Samantha, and then I told you that other girl, Carrie, annoyed me. We had to turn it off, even though Samantha was, Samantha, So anyhow, that show, Sex and the City, is what ruined it for me for Sarah Jessica Parker. Watching this episode of what heard on Later with Bob Costas from March of '91, it aired on the 27th, and she was so cool up until Carrie Bradshaw, which made her a household name. But I forgot about her being Annie on Broadway, and I remembered Square Pegs. She was on this show promoting LA Story with Steve Martin, and she was on TV then in sort of like an LA Law knockoff called Equal Justice, and she's talking about how she followed around a DA to research the role, and back in '91 she said she wanted a woman of color. Pretty cool, 30 years ago. And then she talked at length about Frank Rich. And I guess Rich had been on 60 Minutes 2 nights before, and she was unaware of it. And Costas, off the top of his head, quotes what was said in 60 Minutes. That dude's amazing. My favorite. You're bored. You're always bored by this stuff. Hopefully the people aren't. They find you cute. You think the people are going to find you cute? Yeah, I do.
Thanks for staying up later. Sarah Jessica Parker is with us. There has been a shocking mix-up in the wardrobe department. I walked out, sat down, and suddenly realized that...
we are same.
Yeah. What are people to make of this?
I think let them make what they need to make of it.
And neither one of us saw the other.
No.
In fact, we never met until we sat down right here just now. We've known each other the grand sum total of 5 minutes.
I would gather that's about the number.
And yet already we're dressing alike.
I know, it's embarrassing, isn't it?
It's kind of shocking. Have you gotten considerably more attention just from the average person on the street since the release of LA Story?
Yes, there has been a few more people turning their heads. But I think people notice me less because I am not in perpetual movement as I walk down the streets of New York or Los Angeles. So.
Yeah, you're pretty hyperactive as Sandy. And how does Sandy spell her name? Big S?
Big S, small A, small N, big D, small E, big E, and there's a little star at the end.
She's a clothing store clerk that Steve Martin kind of semi-falls for.
Well, yeah, falls into somehow, or she falls into him, yes. And I guess it's sort of that, I don't know, that wrong person, not only chronologically, but emotionally and intellectually, and provides a great source of entertainment for him.
You're a girl from Cincinnati.
Yes.
How did you nail that stereotype of that Southern California sort of valley girl type so well?
Well, I think the main ingredient was Steve Martin's screenplay, which provided me with most of my source stuff. But I couldn't do a lot of research on Sandy because I had never met anybody like her. I mean, I'd met young women that were not particularly bright, who happened to frequent malls, and had avoided them at all costs in my earlier life. And so I used a little bit of that, but what really helped was looking at Steve Martin's old movies and more recent movies, but really watching them and watching his physical stuff and having that be an ingredient that I decided to jump on. And the rest of the words just led me.
Had you known Steve Martin at all before this?
No. I'd only been an audience. I'd only been like a civilian, watching him in movies and on Saturday Night Live, and my brothers imitating him. I remember when Saturday Night Live first came on. So I was truly terrified. I'll just call it like it is. I was really scared.
Did he handle the casting, at least of the major roles himself? Was it he who selected you?
I would imagine that he had a big say in it, yes.
Did he ever hint as to why?
No, I keep thinking it was a big mistake. That was my first thought. My first thought when they called me and told me that I had the part was, oh my God, I have to do this now. And then I thought somebody else must not have been available. And I never had the nerve to ask him because I thought that he would tell me that I didn't appear to be very bright in the audition, so I would be perfect for the part of Sandy. So I don't know why he did. My feeling is that maybe, you know, he's so not obvious. You know, he's never been one to do the most obvious thing or the most common choice, and that I'd never been cast in a role like this, and never would have been, I don't think, and I wasn't obvious for it, you know. There are more stereotypical looking people.
Yeah. Kind of a gentle lampooning of life in Los Angeles, at least as seen by Steve.
By Steve Martin, yeah. A very affectionate look, not mean-spirited at all.
Anybody in your family before you involved in entertainment in any way, or are you a first?
I have older brothers and sisters. My oldest brother, Pippin, is a screenwriter, and my brother Timothy Britton's an actor and has done, you know, a few Broadway plays, and I have a little sister, Allegra, who sang for 7 seasons with New York City Opera. And arts was a big part of our growing up life, and museums and the ballet and the symphony and theater. And I think that in retrospect it was a natural inclination among a better part of us that we steer that direction.
Big family.
8 kids.
8 kids?
Yeah.
Where do you fit in?
3 older, 4 younger.
Apart from this interest in the arts, what was your family life like?
Really strange. We were sort of a dichotomy. My parents were very political and cultured people. There were and still are. And we had no money, so we were very actively involved in the community, and, you know, dressed beautifully, and but, you know, we're slobs at home, and, you know, had no matching furniture, no matching linens.
So
and
all the
really
money,
bohemian life.
all the money outside of necessities went to take care of when you walked through the door. And
Well, no, I
inside
don't
the
mean to
door,
suggest that, but, you know, the money was directed toward educational things in life, you know, ballet lessons and piano lessons and violin lessons, and we were also in Cincinnati given scholarships a lot, and that's really what helped us a lot, because had I not, you know, C.C.M, which is the Conservatory of Music in Cincinnati, really, you know, helped a lot, and so it was a very strange life, but wonderful, a wonderful life.
Jesus and you'll be saved. Pray to Satan and you're a slave. All the gypsy spade women with a history, come backstage and save me. Lucy packed it up and hitched the rail up to Canada with the night mail. Breezing up north like she don't know how. Couldn't touch her now. Rolling by cities across the lake, where somebody's singing at someone's wake. I know all the songs, they're like my shoes, always marching to a soft blues. Yeah, yeah. Indian, Jenny, and Kavanaugh shimmied on down to the Windsor Locks. Janice daddy always warned her about the ghost.
Okay, back now with Sarah Jessica Parker. Equal Justice is seen Wednesday nights from 10 to 11 Eastern Time on ABC, and it just won a People's Choice Award as the best new dramatic series, so it's been very well accepted.
It was really nice. We weren't aware that we really had an audience, you know. I mean, it was sort of nice, because the show's been preempted a lot, and we've been playing only half seasons, so we didn't know that we had made that impression yet, and it was really just wonderful. It couldn't have come at a better time.
It's set in the district attorney's office. There are a lot of young legal types running around.
Yes.
In that sense, an obvious LA Law knockoff.
Yes, well, I think that LA Law set the tone for this show. I think it was a terrific predecessor, and The difference, of course, is that we're public life. We're basically civil servants, and we don't pick and choose our cases. And you really, on our show, we really deal with humanity, and we really deal with, and especially this past season that's still continuing, we're dealing with a lot of how these people affect their jobs and how their job affects them and who they are and why they operate the way they do. It's been really a good season so far, I think.
Do you hear
if
a
I don't
lot?
say so myself.
Do you hear a lot from young lawyers, maybe as Jackson Browne would say, young lawyers in love, who say, wait a minute, I like being a lawyer, but I only wish it was this idealistic and this romantic on a consistent basis. A lot of it is just, you know, kind of grunt work.
Yes. We've heard from people that the show needs to be darker. It needs to be crazier even, that the circumstances that they deal with in courtrooms, especially some of the young ADAs, are really, truly bizarre. But we've also heard very balanced remarks that the show isn't afraid to be real and that it is dimensional and gritty and that it's not pretty. It's not a pretty show to watch, and it's not great fun and escapism. It's real, and we really feel a responsibility to portray these people as human beings and to show the sort of nobility of what they do.
What has your research been like?
My research was strange. I spent time in the criminal courts building downtown Los Angeles with a young woman who was in what they call, it's on the door, it says Hardcore Gang Unit. And they deal with all the gang-related crime and murder in Los Angeles County, which is, I mean, a huge amount of work. And she was who I followed around because I wanted to follow a woman. I wanted to preferably follow a woman of color or minority of, you know, in gender. And she was great. And the thing that I remember feeling the most coming away from it was how painful a job it was, you know, and how unforgiving and relentless it is, you know. And they're so young. And she had been already in the office a number of years and was planning to stay. I mean, ideally she wanted to be there. And that was who I followed.
When did you first hit Broadway?
When I was 11, I did a play on Broadway that Harold Pinter directed called The Innocents, and it was The Turn of the Screw adapted for stage with Claire Bloom playing the governess. And that was something that I'd read about in the paper in Cincinnati, and I came to New York to audition. It's one of those flukes, you know, when you're young, sort of things happen because you don't understand how important it is.
You played Annie, right?
Yes.
Well, you were still, what, 13, 14 years old?
Yep, about that time, yeah. For a couple of years. First I was an orphan in the orphanage, and then I played Annie for a year.
What was that like?
It was pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing. It was one of those things that happens that is more fun than anything else. You know, except I do remember at that point my parents really ingraining in me the understanding of doing a good show every night, what that means, what you owe an audience. So it was great fun, but I actually took it very seriously. But because I was young, I really think that the passion, you know, really outweighed all else. And people were nice to me. I mean, I kept having these experiences growing up where people were nice to me. And, you know, had there been any other options, you know, to pursue, I don't know, engineering or flight attendant or something.
Or spokesmodel.
Or spokesmodel.
Yeah.
I might have done those things, but I think the thing that kept me pursuing this crazy vocation was that people were always nice to me, you know, and I was treated well. And I always met, you know, a handful of people that I really liked, and it was always something good.
Was it intimidating to play Annie after it had already become a Broadway classic? It had been done very well, and people had a certain level of expectation?
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, I didn't follow Andrew McArdle, who was the first Annie, but I was a third Annie on Broadway. And I think by then, some of the fear factor had worn off because the removal of that, the twice removed, helped me a lot. I didn't feel that I had to compete with Andrea because I knew that was sort of a pointless thing to expect of myself. I wasn't a terrific singer. I didn't belt. I didn't have that Andrew McArdle voice, which was so extraordinary. My real strength was that I was going to act the hell out of it, you know. I was going to do all I could to strengthen my deficit there. So I knew that I had to make it my own thing, that I couldn't compete with the two girls prior to me, you know. But it was scary. I mean, the scariest thing and the greatest thing, though, was singing with this full orchestra every night, you know, and seeing this conductor, Peter Howard, look at me every night and give me that thing, and I just thought, this is unbelievable.
What's the production schedule like on Equal Justice, so that it allows you apparently to do some stage work, which you're involved in right now?
Yeah, it's well, we've never done a full season, like I've said, but we shot this year from August till January, and then I had January till July off again, so it provided perfect space to do this play in New York City that I'm doing, called Substance of Fire by John Robbie Bates, with a tremendous cast, and we just got a rave review in the New York Times this morning by Frank Rich.
Oh, is that right?
I mean, I can't believe I'm telling you this, but I can't believe it.
Well, now, let's set this in context, all right? We're taping this show on Monday, March 18th.
Yes.
The night before, Sunday, March 17th, there was a 60 Minutes piece about Frank Rich as the scourge of Broadway. Some of the most prominent people in theater telling Morley Safer how this is the most venomous, vicious man in history.
God bless him, is all I can say.
How strong men and women cringe when he walks through the theater. How they detest him but are afraid to say so publicly because he'll only beat them up all the more. How all of their effort, no matter how much talent,
really
integrity,
horrible.
and creativity went into it, disappears at this man's whim. You didn't know that, however, when you picked up the New York Times this morning, right?
I didn't know what was said about him on 60 Minutes last night. He has been, for a number of years now, extremely good to me, for whatever reason. But that does not ensure a good review every time at all.
Well, the point wasn't that he disliked everything,
No.
only that when he decided for his own personal reasons to dislike something, run for cover because you were finished.
It's a strange thing because if you think about it, it's so subjective, an opinion, you know, but he is clearly the most powerful man in the theater world as far as whether something goes or not, whether something is extended or moves to Broadway. I mean, that's an amazing thing that he holds there, and I'm sure he's aware of it. It's unfortunate that the economy is such that that's the case, that if he decides, you know, that something's fantastic, that it moves, and if it's not, it doesn't.
That's partly by dint of his reputation and largely because of the vehicle, because it's the New York Times.
Yes. But it's interesting how my whole life since I've been in the theater, I've wanted the New York Times to like me. It's really true. And I mean, it's just one of those things, you know, it's like, please like me. It's sort of embarrassing and a bit on the beggish side. But, you know, it's the New York Times. And I've had nightmares since Thursday night, since we heard he had seen the show, about this review. I mean, just nightmares. All I kept saying in my head, it was on a loop. And Sarah Gelthardt, played by Sarah Jessica Parker, the weak link in the cast. That's all I kept hearing, the weak link, the weak link. I mean, I just had nightmares about this. And I thought, you know, this will just be horrendous. And after LA Story, and I was nicely received. And I thought, this is it. This is my punishment. For having something good happen, I have to have something really horrible happen, or I'll get hit by a car.
One or the other.
Yeah, naturally.
Although based on what I've heard about the way people in the theater view it, as long as it wasn't fatal, they'd prefer to be hit by a car.
Exactly. Yes, you're probably right. But he gave us a really amazing review, and it was just, it was amazing. We were so happy.
This, boys and girls, is Sarah Jessica Parker, very well received in Steve Martin's L.A. Story, big starring role in Equal Justice. Her work approved of by Frank Rich at the New York Times. Excellent taste in color patterns for appearing on a television show. What more can be said? The woman is absolutely perfect. Good night and see you later.